Hi guys, welcome to this little Fusion tutorial. The aim of this video is to just get you going, give you a few skills, but the good thing about Fusion and the best way to learn it is to just do some trial and error, see what works, see what doesn't work. So this is a guide just to give you a few skills to get you going, and then hopefully from there you can be creative and make your own product. So to start with, I'm just going to show you sort of how to look around. So up here is this cube, and you can just grab on the cube and look around. So that bit in the middle here, this is our plane, our base plane. As you can see with this cube, you can just use it to drag it around, or you can click on different bits of it to sort of look at different sides. You can look from the corner, from there, from the top, from the back, and you can use it to click on. If you ever get lost and your model's off somewhere random, hover over there and click home, and it will take you back to this top corner. Cool, that's one way. Another way is to come down here. There's a hand for pan, and that moves you a little left and right and round and round. Then there's this other option, orbit, and that's where you can sort of look around. If you ever want to get out of one of those tools, just hit escape on your keyboard and you'll be out of it. Now there's one more way to look around, and this way only works if you have a computer mouse. So if you get your mouse and you click and hold down the scroll button, it will pan. And then if you put shift on your keyboard and click and hold the scroll button on your mouse, then it will orbit. So to pan, just click and hold the scroll, and to orbit, shift on your keyboard, then click and hold the scroll. And just scroll normally to zoom in and out. Cool. That is looking around. The first thing we want to do when starting a new design is to create a new component. So a component is like a part. So let's say for my drink bottle, I will have the lid as one component. If I've got a filter, that'll be another component. If I've got a straw, that'll be another component. If I've got just the whole base body bit, that'll be another component. So for every new part that you can sort of take apart, that'll be called a component. So I'm going to start by creating a new component. Now all you have to do is name it. So I'm just going to call mine bottle base. And then you can click OK or hit enter on your keyboard. Right, now you can see this component has arrived under our main design. Yep, so we've got bottle base in our main design. Now what I'm going to do is create a new sketch. So I can come here or here and go create sketch. Now these yellow things are called planes. So you've got this right hand plane, that's like drawing on one wall. You've got that left hand plane, that's like drawing on another wall. And then you've got this plane, the base plane, which is like drawing on the floor or the table, let's say. So I'm going to start my sketch just there. So you choose which plane you want to sketch on. From there, I can use all these tools to create different shapes. So I'm just going to start with a circle. And all I have to do is click to place the center of the circle. And then I don't have to hold down my mouse, I just move my mouse around. And then I can click to place the outside of the circle. Yeah? I'm just going to undo that by doing Control Z. And I'm going to show you again. So I click to place the center of the circle. And then I can either click to place the outside, or I can type the diameter. So I can just start typing. If I know my diameter is going to be, let's say, 120 millimeters, 12 centimeters, I can just type it in and click enter. If you've drawn the circle and you're sort of like, oh, I don't know what size it was, you can go into create, down to sketch dimension, and all you need to do is click once on the outside of the circle and once randomly, and then you can type it in and it will resize it for you. So there's no worries about that. Now I'm still in my dimension tool. If I want to get out of it, I can just hit escape. Right, that's our circle done, and that's all I need. So I'm going to click finish sketch. I can do it there or there. Now you can see I've got the circle sort of sitting on the ground. Once you've sketched that circle, what we're going to do is called an extrude. So up here what we've done is we made a new component, we made a new sketch. Now we're going to extrude it. So that's just like pushing and pulling something. So you can come over here, grab the arrow and you can like make it go up and down. So you can either just drag it to the number you want, or you can go and type the number in. So if I know I want my drink bottle to be 18 centimeters high, I'll put it to 180 millimeters and I can just go OK, or I can hit enter on my keyboard. There you go, we've got this cylinder now, pretty much. So what we can do is I'm going to make a new sketch. So you can choose sketch from up there or sketch from in there. It's the same thing. And there's those 3 planes we talked about. But now that we've made a solid object, you can also sketch on the solid object. So I'm going to sketch on top of the cylinder there. And I'm just going to make a circle from the middle. See, it locks onto the middle. And then I can type. So it's 120. So I'm going to make it 116 because that'll allow me 2 millimeters either side all the way around. Because now what I'm going to do is finish that sketch, or finish it. Yeah. I'm going to go back over to extrude. It's there or there. I'm going to click on that circle we made and I can drag it down and it's going to cut it. See, it says operation cut. If you want to change that, you can like make it join, but I don't know why you would. We're just cutting it at the moment because we're wanting to chop a hole. If we're going up that way, we can change it to join and then it will join on. So when we want to go inside and chop something, we make sure it's on cut, but if we're wanting to make it join, we can make it join. And how tall did I make it? I made it 180. So if I go all the way through to 180, it's going to just chop a hole all the way through like a toilet roll. So instead, I'm going to just do 180 minus 2 millimeters, so 178. And that's going to give me a wall thickness to my drink bottle, 2 millimeters, all the way around now. So if I have a look, you can see I've got this nice cylinder. Very easy. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a thread to the outside of this. So all I do is I go to, oh no, it's not modify, it's create. Go over to create, and then halfway down is thread. So I can click on that. Then you want to select what face you want it to go on. So do you want to thread the inside or the outside? At this point, I'm threading the outside. What you can see here is that the thread's really thick, so it's actually cutting all the way through, so you can change the size. So instead of by 6, I might make it by 2. You always want to make sure modelled is ticked, so modelled should be ticked when you make your thread. And we actually don't want it full length, do we? We don't want our thread going all the way down our thing, so I can untick full length. You can drag how long you want it to be. You can drag how far down you want it to start, or you can type it over here. So length is how long it is, and offset is like how far from the top you want it to start. So I'm just going to make it 20 mil and offset 0. So I just want it to start at the top. I chose the size, so 120 is the diameter of our circle, so we just leave that alone. But we can change how thick it is, so by 1.5, by 2, by 3, by 4, by 6. So I'm just choosing by 2. And then that's all. So I changed the length and then what number it was by. And then modelled ticked and unticked full length. And I can go OK. Now what I've got is this sort of hollow drink bottle base that's threaded. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another way to make a bottle. So instead of going like that and making a circle, pulling it up, getting another circle, pushing it down, then threading it, I'm just going to start a new design just to show you. So the first thing I do when I start a new design is go in and make that component. So I'm making a bottle face. And I can just go OK or hit enter. Now I'm ready to go. So what I'm going to do is instead of creating a sketch on the ground, I'm just going to create it on one of the walls. Either one is fine. And I'm going to use the line tool. So I can use this to make straight lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a section view of the drink bottle, but only half of it. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's say my bottle's going to be 100 millimeters wide, 10 centimeters wide overall. Half of the width would be 50. Maybe it's going to be 150 high. So I can type these numbers in, or I can just move my mouse till it meets it. And then I'm going to go in 5, up another 10. Maybe I want the wall thickness to be 5 all the way around, so I can go like this. You'll see it in a minute. I'm just clicking every time I want to place a little anchor, and then I can meet it up in the middle, and then because all the lines join, I've got this. So this is like a section view of my bottle, but only half of it. You're going to see why we do this in a minute. So this is quite a good way if you're making curvy bottles. So I'm going to finish that sketch. And now you can see I've got half of a section view. So if I had the whole thing, it would also go up there. Now what I'm going to do, instead of extruding it, I'm going to do a revolve. So it says, what profile do you want to revolve around? And it automatically selects the only profile, the only sketch we've got. And then it says, what axis do you want to go around? So I can select that line, and then you can see it's revolved around. I'll show you what happens if I choose a different line. If I choose that line, it'll revolve around that line. If I choose that line, it will revolve around that line. If I choose that bottom line, it'll revolve around that line. So I'm just choosing this middle one because I want it to revolve around this invisible axis, this invisible line around the middle. You can see, if I go OK, I've got a bottle, and that was really easy. And what I can do now is the same thing for a thread. I can go over there for thread, and I can click on that face. I don't want it 6, that's quite a thick thread. I'll have it 2, and you can see it's got a lot thinner now. And make sure model is ticked. If you don't want it the full length of the face you have selected, you can untick full length and decide how much you want it to be. Okay, there we go. That's another way to make a bottle base. I'm going to show you how to make a lid now, and then I'll probably show you a straw as well. So I'll just go back to this one because it's sort of easier to know the size of everything, because I know that it's 120 diameter was the bottom, and the top it was just 120 millimeters diameter circle. So that's important. What I'm going to do now is, this is called toggling something, this little dot out here. So if I hover over there, you can see I can toggle that. If I hover over there, I can toggle that. So each time I make a new component, I make sure this top one is toggled. Yeah? So I can go create new component, and I'm going to make the lid. And I can just go enter on my keyboard, or I can click OK. So now when I want to work on each bit, I can work on the lid, or I can work on the base. When I'm working on the lid, this one sort of goes see-through because it's reminding you, yeah, you're not working on the base, you're working on the lid now. So to start my lid, I'm going to create a sketch like I usually do, and I'm actually going to create my sketch. It's kind of difficult to see. You can see there's that top flat rim of our drink bottle, and I'm going to make my sketch on that top flat rim. It's kind of hard to see. I'm going to try and get in a good angle. You see the top flat rim, and I'm just going to click on that. So it's like now I've got my sketch plane. Can you see? Right on top of my drink bottle. Cool. I'm going to look at it from the top because it's easier to see. I'm just going to start by drawing a circle, lock it into the center there. And then I want to make it 120, the exact same size as our bottle body. Then I'm actually going to make another circle at the same time. So you can make multiple things in one sketch. And I'm going to make this 125. Cool. So I've got 2 circles, got a 120 and a 125. And that's all I need. I'm just going to go finish sketch. So now I've got these 2 circles. What I'm going to do is extrude. And I'm going to click on that little donut I made, that space between the 2 circles. And I'm going to extrude it down. So when I extrude it down, you can see it's like covering the outside of the bottle. And I can go OK. Yeah? Something that happens when you finish a sketch is that sketches go to sleep. The little eyeball turns off. So if I drop down into my lid over here, I have bodies, which is the solid things, and I have sketches, which is the things we made. And I'm actually going to turn that little sketch on again. So now you can see I can click on things. If I turn that off, I can't click on that center circle. If I turn it on, you can see I can click on that center circle. If I can't, it's gone. So I'm going to turn it on because I want to do some more extruding with that same sketch. So I'm going to go extrude. I want that circle. I want to make sure I've got this whole top flat bit selected. So you might need to click on a few things. So I've got everything selected. It's just one big blue circle now. Cool. And I'm going to extrude that up, maybe 5 millimeters. And here where it says join, it's saying, do you want to join to the thing you just extruded? That's what it's saying. And I'm going, yes, I want to join to the thing I just extruded. And I can go, okay. There we go. I can turn that sketch off. See, when it's on, you can see the sketch we made with the 2 double rings. When it's off, you can't, and it makes it all neat. And then I can just tuck everything back up in there. There we go. You have this lid now. If I want to see the bottle, base, and the lid at the same time, I have to toggle the whole design on. So I go up there and I toggle it. If I want to work on just the base, I can see it there. If I want to work on just the lid, I can see it there. Cool. So we're starting to get somewhere. We've got this lid and this base. But the thing with this lid is we need to thread it so that it can actually screw on. I want to thread that inside face, but this bottle base is in the way, so I can just put it to sleep. If something's in the way, just put it to sleep. See, it disappears because I want to thread this inside face. So I go create, thread, and I can click on that inside face. Now the thing we have to remember is what size was our last thread, and our last thread was 120 by 2. We need our threads to match. The thread of the base and the thread of the lid need to be the same. If they're not the same, they won't go together. It's like trying to put a jar lid on a drink bottle or something, or like a Coke bottle lid on top of a jar. You've got to make sure you've got the same size and the same designation. Make sure modeled is ticked. And we actually do want this the full length, so that's fine. I'll leave that ticked, and then I can go OK. We've got that threaded, and then I've got my whole body. I'm going to show you something cool now. So if well, it's all cool to be honest. If I go into this bottle base and toggle it on, this down here is called the storyline. It tells the story of what we did. So we started by sketching a circle. Then we extruded it up. Then we sketched a circle on the top, and then we extruded it down, and then we cut a thread. If I go over to the lid, it's the same thing. We sketched, we extruded again, and then we threaded. If I toggle the whole thing on, it'll tell the story of both of them. New component, bottle base. We sketched, extruded, threaded. Then we made a new component. Sketched, extruded, threaded. The cool thing about that storyline is you can sort of go back and forth to see where things went wrong. So if something went wrong at some point, you can go forward and back to see where it might have happened. You can also go back to edit things. So if I want to double click on something, it'll bring up edit feature. If I double click on the thread, it'll let me edit the thread. So you don't have to get stuff right the first time. You can go back and forth in time to see when things are happening. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this lid, and I just want to pop a hole in it because we want to be able to make a straw. So I'm going to sketch on top of my lid, and I'm going to make a hole for a straw. Maybe I'll make it 10. Enter. That's all I need to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude, click on that circle. Sometimes I find it easier to look through the front, and I just go through. And because I know the thickness of my lid was 5, I can just cut 10 through. But if I want to check, I can hide the bottle base and look from the bottom to see I've cut all the way through. Yeah. And I can just go, okay, now I've got a hole for if we want to make a straw. So First things first when making a new straw is to toggle on our whole design, then make a new component. And I'm just going to call it straw. Okay, there we go. See, my straw's toggled on now. Probably doesn't really matter where I start my straw sketch. I might just start it on this top face. So I'm going to sketch on the top face, and I'm going to make a straw that probably perfectly fits that hole. So I'm going to make it 10 millimeters. I'm going to make another, make that 8. So I'm going to have a straw that's that thick, the gap between the two holes, and I'm going to finish sketch. There you go. And what I can do is I can extrude, and I can click on that little gap there, and this is how we're making our straw. But we want our straw to go into our bottle, but we also want it to come up above the bottle. So instead of going direction one side, I can go two sides, and now it gives us 2 arrows. So I can go up one direction, and then I can drag down the other direction. So that was 2 sides, and I can go, okay, and we'll have a think. Now I have this straw. Here we go. That's looking like a bottle, isn't it? One thing we can do to make it look nice and pretty is something called a fillet. So if I click on fillet, and then I click on the edge of something. So a face is like a flat bit. Edge is like a line. So I can click on that edge, and I can like roll this face. And I can make it nice and round. I might only want to make it 2 millimeters round, or 4, and then I can go okay. You can do that all over your bottle. The key thing is not to make it too much, otherwise it cuts a hole. Because you know we had that, it'll like cut a hole in the bottom where you don't want a hole. We wanted just a gentle rim. See, it's already cutting a hole there. The fillet can't be bigger than the thickness of the walls. There you go, it's starting to look nicer and neater. We've got these 3 parts, the base, the lid, and the straw, and then the whole thing. I'm going to just create another new design to show you how you can reuse the revolve feature we used to make this one, but curvy. So I'm going to create a new component whenever I start a new part. So I'm going to call it bottle base again. So this is the 3rd bottle base I'm showing you. I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to choose it on that wall. And then I'm going to use my line to make the base. I'll probably make it 50 wide again. If I don't want another line, I can just hit tick and it will let me finish there. Then I'm going to use what's called a spline. And this allows you to make a curvy bottle. So maybe that's the curved bottle I want. I can go back to my straight line. If I want a straight edge with the thread to go on, I can go like that. And then maybe I want this straight bit here. And then I can go back to my curve, and I can follow the curves back down again. Ooh, and then tick to finish it. So now you can see I've got this curvy thing. So escape to get out of a tool you don't want to be in. Then I can finish sketch. Now what I can do is I can revolve. So the profile, the sketch has been selected, and then we can choose the axis. So I'm just going to choose that center line. And see, it'll revolve around, and I've got this nice curvy bottle. It's quite flat though, but it's curvy. And I can go okay. And then what you can do is you can go and thread that if you want, making sure to choose an appropriate size thread and making sure it says modeled. There you go. Easy. Like making this bottle, you guys will rip through. I'm going to show you a couple of different sort of skills now that you might be able to use for your bottle. So, new design, new component. So each time making a new design, I'm like making a new bottle from scratch. That's what I'm doing. I'm just doing that to show you some skills. So I'm just going to go bottle base again. And this bottle base is going to look pretty random. So I'm going to start with a sketch down there. And let's say I want my bottle base to be like a sort of a blob. I've got a blob. Finish sketch. And then maybe I want the top of the drink bottle to be a circle. What I can do is I can go construct offset plane. So I can make a plane in mid-air. So I'm saying I want the plane to be offset from something. So offset means like away from. So I'm going to make this plane away from that one by 140 millimeters. So now I've made this like yellow square. So initially our planes were coming out of the center, but I've made a plane in the middle of nowhere. And I can sketch on that plane in the middle of nowhere. And I can make a circle. Maybe I want to make it 70. Enter. And finish that sketch. So now I have a sketch down there and a sketch in the middle mid-air. So I can go into create. We've used extrude. We've used revolve. We're going to use loft. So this allows you to join two sketches together and it will like meld them together really slowly and gently. So it's like a sunset, you know, when part of the sky is orange and part of the sky is like a deep blue and it fades ever so gradually from one to the other and you don't really know where one starts and one ends. That's sort of what a loft is. And I can go, okay. Yeah, I'm going to Control Z to undo it and I'm going to show you again. Create, loft, click on the two sketches you want and then just go okay. Now I've got a really funky shaped drink bottle. It sort of looks like a hoof of a sheep or something. Then, you know how I said sketches turn themselves off? I want the circle one back on, so I can turn that on, because I'm going to use it again. I'm going to do a normal extrude, and I'm going to just take it up 10 like that, because that's going to be sort of where I put my screw thread. But currently, this is like just one big chunky thing, and we want to make it like an Easter egg, you know, so it's hollow on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I can go into modify and I can use shell. It's sort of saying, what do you want to turn into a shell? So I'm just going to drag and be like, I want everything to turn into a shell. You can decide how thick you want it to be. So I'm just going to make mine 2 millimeters. Currently, it won't look any different because if you had a solid Easter egg versus if you had a hollow Easter egg, just by looking at them, you wouldn't be able to tell. So that's what's happened here. So what we need to do is like cut a hole through. So I'm going to sketch on the very top. I'm going to make a circle. And I want to make it sure it shares the center. So when you're placing a normal point, it's like a plus. But when you lock on to a center, it turns into a little blue circle. And I'm going to make it, so what did I make it originally? 70. So I'm going to make it 68. Oh no, I want to make it 66. There we go. Finish sketch. Now I have a sketch on the top and I'm just going to click on that and extrude it down just to cut through that top layer. So now I can see my hollow drink bottle sheep hoof thing. There you go. And I can thread the outside if I want. Making sure it's an appropriate designation. It's a little bit smaller. Modeled is ticked. There you go. So that's what to do if you have a really funky shaped drink bottle. Right. I'm going to show you another way to make a lid. Similar, but we're going to do a nozzle instead of a straw. So I'm going to start by toggling my whole design on and creating a new component and calling it lid. Right, I'm going to create a sketch right on the top rim. So it's kind of hard to tell because there's all these different faces. I want to select just the very top rim. There we go. And I'm just going to draw a circle, sharing that center. So see how it locks on blue? Means it's sharing a center with another circle. And we made it 70, didn't we? So I'm going to make 170. Lock it on. Make that 174. Cool. finish sketch. I'm going to extrude that down 10 so that it's the same as the thread length. I'm just going to go OK. And remember, we have to turn the sketch back on if we want to use it again. So off, on. I'm going to extrude all this bit up so that we have a top part to our lid, and it's going to say join. So I'm joining to what I've already done. And I can turn it back off again to neaten it up, tuck everything back in. And now I've got this lid. I can turn off the bottle base if it's too hard to see that inside face we want to thread. And I'm going to thread it. There we go. Make sure it matches. 70 by 2 was my other one. If you want to check, you can go back into it, click on your thread, 70 by 2. Then I can go into my lid and I can check by clicking on it, 70 by 2. Nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch on top of here. I want to make I'm going to make sort of part of the nozzle. So I'm going to make a little 10mm nozzle, I think. And I finish sketch. I can click extrude and I can extrude my nozzle up. Maybe I don't want 5 or 10, so I can type in and make 7, let's say. There we go, it's looking like a nozzle, but the water can't get out. So I can sketch on top of the little nozzle and I can make a tiny hole, maybe 2mm. So I type that in, click enter, finish sketch. I've got a tiny little hole that I've just drawn. What I can do is extrude that hole. So I can click there. If you click there, it doesn't work. If you click there, it doesn't work. Click on the free space between the dot and the ring. Then you can, I like to look from the side sometimes to tell how far through I've cut. So I definitely know I've cut through there and I've cut through that thin layer. Or I can turn off the bottle base, look from underneath to check it's cut all the way through. It's cutting, okay. And I can turn that back on. There we go, we've got like a little nozzle now. But we can use fillet and we can make it nice and round, so we can make that bit nice. I can use fillet and I can round this bit off. Beautiful. Cool. It's looking like a proper bottle again. The thing with Fusion is it's not like Google Docs or Google Slides. It doesn't automatically save, so you have to make sure to go and save it. So you go File, Save. Yeah. And then you can choose the location. So you can make a new project if you want. So that's like making a new folder, and I can call it 11 DVC if I want to keep it in there. But I already have an 11 DVC folder, so I'm just going to, oh, it's still making it anyway. So I can choose one of my 11 DVC folders now. Maybe I'll use my new one. And I can name the file. So this is going to be bottle. And I can click save. Then if you want to find it, it'll be over there in your 11 DVC folder. Oh, that's my one from last year. In your 11 DVC folder, it'll be saved in there. So you need to make sure to keep saving. I just save the whole time. So I just hit save, 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 save. So if I do something, let's say, just so it's for the sake of saving, I just go save. And it will save this. Just don't worry, just click OK. Cool? Right. Changing colors. I'm sure you all want to do that. So modify, physical material. And then it brings up this whole library of physical materials. There we go. So currently in this design, we've got this, which is steel. We don't need steel. So we can come down here to our library and we can choose something. So maybe I want plastic. And I've got all these plastic options. Don't worry about the color, you can change it. So if you know you want yours made out of polypropylene, we've talked a bit about that one. We'll go down, we'll find polypropylene, and you just drag it on. Yeah, and then it says, now in this design we've got steel and polypropylene. If I right click on the material, I can go edit, I can go advanced, and then I can go appearance. and then I can click there for color, and you can change the color. Okay, apply, and then you can go out of it. So maybe for the top, I want, let's for the sake of it, choose something random. Oh, we'll just choose plastic, general plastic. I can drag that onto my body at the top. It appears now in this design bit. I can right click, edit, advanced, appearance, click on the color there. You can choose one of the ones I've already got, or you can just drag. Okay, apply, and then you're done. Beautiful. Cool, you can close that if you want. Now you're going to have to do some more complex thinking because I know a lot of you have like straps on your bottle or something. So you're going to have to think, how can I add a little like place for my strap to go? So let's say I want to add it for my lid. Maybe I want to add this little sort of circle out the side. So what I can do is I can sketch on that top bit or something, and I can make a little curve or something. Tick. And another little curve inside it. Tick. And then join up the little bottom bits. Tick. Join up those bits. Tick. And then we should be ready to go. So I have made this little flat bit here, and I can extrude that like that, and I can make it join. Here we go. Now if you want it just in the middle, instead of starting from that top profile plane, that top plane we sketched on, you can start from an offset, and you can say you actually want it to start 2 mil below your lid, so you have to go negative, and then it will start below where the sketch was. There you go. And that is nicely done. See how it said join when we extruded it? That's good. We want it to join onto the lid. Nice. And that creates a little place for a strap or something. The good thing about Fusion is you don't have to make everything in place. So I don't have to make the strap in there. I can make it like over here and then move it in. So if I'm making a strap, that's a new part. It's separate from the lid. I'm not joining it together. So I need to toggle the whole bottle on, create new component, and I can go like handle strap sort of thing. And then I can make a new sketch sort of anywhere because we're going to just sketch and drag it into place. So if I make my shape, make a shape, finish sketch, I can extrude it a little bit. Maybe I don't want it 10 mil, I might just want it like 2 mil thick. Enter. And then I have this little strap. And what I can do, I can toggle it all on so I can see everything. And I can just move that over there. So I can go modify, move. I just click on the thing I want to move. And then you can use the arrows to go up and down and left and right. Sometimes you might need to look at it from different angles. Over there. And then this one's rotate, so maybe I want to rotate it. Move it over there. Maybe I want to look from the side again. Because currently it's going through the middle. Oh, I don't want to move it by so much. I might only want to move it by 1 millimeter that way. Up a little bit. Here we go. And I can go okay. Now I've got the strap. It's looking cool. Now, let's say your bottle has like a handle as well. I'll go choose a different bottle to add a handle to. Here we go. We'll come over here and we'll add a handle. So we want the handle probably to be part of the base, like molded to it. So I'm going to toggle base on rather than make a new component. And what I'm going to do is all I want to do is make a sketch, and I'm just going to make a sketch there. And I'm going to draw a handle. So I can use the curve or straight, depends what you want to do. So I might want to make a curve. I probably want to make sure it's like touching the edge of my bottle, because if you make it out there, it's not going to join. So you want to make it sure it's touching the edge of your bottle. And then you can make the handle, make it touch the edge of your bottle. And then I'm going to just tick that there. And then I'm going to make the handle like that and tick there. And then I'm just going to use a straight line to join the points up. Cool. Now I've got this like thin sketched handle off the side. And what I can do is I can just extrude it like that. And the handle is being made. Easy peasy. You can use fillet to round the edges if you want. Yeah. There's another way to make a handle, like if your handle's round. And this is called doing a sweep. This is a bit tricky. So over here you would have seen extrude, revolve, and we used loft. We haven't used sweep, so that's what we're going to do now. So what I first need to do is make a circle on the edge of here. But I don't have a plane on the edge of here, so I need to construct a tangent plane. And I want to click there, and it makes a plane tangent to the edge of my bottle, which means just touching the edge. Cool. And now I can sketch on that tangent plane, and all I want to do is sketch a little circle. So I'm going to make it 5 mil maybe. Finish sketch. Now what I need to do is create a sketch on a plane that intersects that point. So that's happened naturally since I have made my bottle in the middle of my sort of workspace. I'm going to make a little curve. And the thing is, I've got to have that curve that I'm about to make start at the center of my circle. So you can see there's my circle. I need it starting at the center of my circle. Then I just need to make the shape I want my handle to be and tip. So all I've done is I made that circle sketch over there, and then I made the squiggle sketch coming from the center. What I'm going to do now is go create, sweep, and it says, what's the profile you want to sweep? And I'm saying, I want to sweep the circle. And then you click there, it says, what's the path you want to follow? And I'm going to click that line. There you go. But I don't want it to cut. I want it to join. I want it to join onto my body. There you go. Well, it's very thin, but now we have a sweeped handle. Some of you with your bottles might have little water indicator areas. Now what you can do is you can create a sketch. I'm going to create a sketch on this plane going through the middle. And I'm just going to sketch the shape of my water indicator thing. So let's say it's like that. I can change the size of it by clicking there, 8 wide, clicking there, and then clicking again, 100 long or something. And then finish sketch. My sketch is in the middle, that's all good. I'm going to extrude. See how at the moment it's making a solid body, and then as soon as you go through something else, it changes to cut. That's good, we want it to cut. We've cut this hole now. Great. Now what we're going to do is something a bit tricky. Is I'm going to create a revolve, because now this is an empty space. We want it to be full. So I want the profile to be that, and I want the axis to be the line that's straight through the middle of my bottle. I don't want it to rotate all the way around. I just want it to rotate to something else. I want it to rotate to that next side. And I don't want it to join. I want it to actually make a new body. Cool. So now I have this little body in here. so that when I go and change the physical material, I can change it to, let's say I've got a clear plastic. Yeah. And now I've got this clear indicator in my bottle. Before I had done that revolve, I just had a hole. And then when I did that revolve, I was filling the space with something. But when I did the revolve, I didn't want it to join because otherwise that just turns it into what we had before. I wanted it to make a new body. So now that body and that body are two separate parts so that you can change the color of them separately. I know it's confusing, but you will be okay. In terms of making a grip on your bottle, the easiest way to do that is probably revolve again. So I'm going to sketch just on this plane going through the middle. See that one there going through the middle? I'm going to make sure, see where I'm hovering over all these different things. I need to make sure I'm hovering over that plane. Oh, did I choose the wrong? I still managed to choose the wrong one. So Control Z to undo. New sketch, and I want it on that plane. There we go. So the easiest way to make that grip is to probably just use a spline and make the shape of the grip. So let's say it like comes out ever so slightly like that. Tick. And then maybe it follows edge. So I've just made a little like crescent moon thing there, and I can go finish sketch. I can go revolve. I want to choose that profile to revolve, and the axis I want it to go around is that center blue line. Instead of to object, I just want partial. So when we first made the body, we made full. We wanted it to go all the way around. Can you see that? To object we used here because we wanted to go from one side to the other side. Here we can just go partial and we can decide how many degrees. So maybe I only want it to go 30 degrees. And maybe I want it to go two sides. Maybe I want it 30 degrees on one side and 30 degrees on the other. So can you see that there? It's like wrapping around the body, this grip. And you can go, okay. And now you have this little grip on the side. Thing is, if you want it to become part of your bottle, you go join and it will join to your bottle. If you want it to sort of be separate so that you can separately change the color, you have to go new body. So now it's its own thing, separate from the bottle.